What's going on, guys? Back on the New England Shakeup, episode 11. Guys, we are so happy to be back for another episode. Today, it is NFL Mock Draft Day. Cam is in the chat, Cam is here, Cam is present, and Cam is ready to unfold this NFL mock draft with me today. Cam, what is going on, man?
Not much. I'm just kind of buzzing thinking of the draft and a little surprised with some of the thoughts the Patriots might use for their third pick, honestly.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that right now.
Yeah, a lot of question marks, a lot of things a lot of moving pieces still, guys. A lot of free agents still left out there. Still a lot of question marks for a lot of teams going into the NFL draft. So, without further ado, guys, let's get right into it with the NFL mock draft presented by the New England Shakeup. So, guys, pick number one. Chicago Bears. Cam, I think you can basically nail the head on the head here. Who goes number one to Chicago?
I mean, it has to be Caleb Williams with the year he had last year.
And why Caleb Williams? Why could you think Caleb Williams is going there? Even thinking, I mean, every sports talk you pull up now, that's all they're talking about. But why do you think he goes to Chicago?
I mean, I think he goes to Chicago just because they really need a quarterback. And when they traded Justin Fields away, that was kind of the telltale sign that they were going to go for a QB. And
Yeah,
I think just the 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I don't remember how many yards he threw for, but a lot.
yeah,
So, I mean,
he threw for a lot of yards in college. Caleb Williams did for that matter. And the real thing, guys, here is like there's no surprise here. I mean, like Cam said, when Chicago traded Justin Fields, that was basically letting everybody know that they were gonna pick the best quarterback prospect in the draft. The reason why I think, Williams is gonna go number one is his pocket movement, his high arcing deep balls, and his off-platform playmaking ability. People are thinking that this is the generational quarterback that people have been waiting for, and hopefully what Chicago has been waiting for so many years. So that's where Cam and I think pick number one goes. It's a no-brainer here. But let's go to the NFC East for a second, guys. Let's go to pick number two. Cam and I have agreed on this. We have kind of came to the conclusion of this. With the second overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders will be selecting Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback. Why do I think personally why Daniels is going to go too? I mean, if you just look at it, during Daniels' pro day, it was obvious he had been working on his pocket movement skills. He'll be very effective in that offense with Cliff Kingsbury. If he's able to add improved footwork to the whip of an arm and the elusive running skills that the kid has, it will be beneficial for Jaden Daniels to be able to kind of learn the offense for a year, and then maybe in year two really show what he's capable of. Cam, with number three, probably the most important draft pick to me and you, it is the New England Patriots at number three, the highest draft pick that they've had, and it seems like forever. We know it's quarterback. We've both agreed it's quarterback. Can we agree now? Quarterback. Drake May out of North Carolina going number three to New England? Yes.
yeah, this was the big shock to me. I kind of pictured them going for Marvin Harrison Jr., and then I hear all these reports where they've kind of turned to Drake May, which I know they need a quarterback, and he could be that guy, but I kind of thought they would wait on a quarterback or get a quarterback earlier in free agency.
Right. And I mean they did add a quarterback. I mean it was Jacoby Brissett, but it wasn't something worth bragging about. It wasn't something worth getting excited about for New England. But guys, I have a cool stat for you guys. So over the last couple seasons, I mean we can say basically the last 5 years. New England has watched Josh Allen win 21 of 26 contests against AFC East foes since the start of the decade, guys, throwing for over 7,000 yards with 57 touchdowns to go along with 1,000 yards and 10 scores on the ground against division opponents. That's not just against the NFL, guys. That's against AFC East opponents. If May's game reminds Gerard Mayo, sorry, and company of the big-bodied, strong-armed Allen like Drake May, then it could be tough for the Pats to pass on him. It really could. And I know that Pats fans now, we've been saying Marvin, Marvin, Marvin because we want Marvin Harrison, but I just think with this pick, they would be dumb not to pick him at 3. And that's what I think, Cam. I just think that with the question mark there at quarterback now, you kind of got to fill that void. And that's what I really think is going to go on here in New England in the next couple weeks. We're going to see a lot of things ramp up as far as Drake May going to New England. And it's going to become a reality on draft day. And that's what, should be down the line and what we should be looking towards for New England to do. Getting into the fourth pick, guys. So Arizona holds the number 4 pick. But Cam and I have attested to this. We've done our research, and number 4 Arizona has said it several times they're willing to move down. Well, guys, trade alert. This is where a trade happens, guys. I have, and Cam has, Denver trading up from number 12 to number 4 with Arizona. We think Sean Payton gives up the first and third round picks in 2025 for his quarterback of the future. McCarthy's lack of volume in college might be seen as a negative by some, but perhaps not to Payton, who might think it'll make it easier to mold the athletic former Wolverine into a top level quarterback. So, with that said, guys, the Denver Broncos will be selecting J.J. McCarthy, Michigan quarterback, the national championship winner. And now, Sean Payton finally has his quarterback. All of those questions are answered. You don't have to go into week 1 with Jarrett Stidham. Denver finds their quarterback. Cam, what do you think about McCarthy pairing up with Sean Payton over there? It's been reported today also, Courtland Sutton not reporting. Probably a trade coming there. What could you see? Could you see McCarthy? Could you see Arizona trading with Denver?
Yeah, I could definitely see that trade happening, and I think Denver really need a quarterback, so it'd be smart for them to trade up.
Mm,
And if it goes the way we're thinking, and Drake May's not available, Jaden Daniels isn't available, or sorry, Jaden McDaniels isn't available, then yeah, I would definitely go for JJ McCarthy if I'm Denver. And with Sutton maybe on the move, maybe they put him in part of the trade that we're talking about.
yeah, yeah. And I think too, with Denver, it's kind of like you kind of have no choice. You traded, not traded Russ, but you released Russell Wilson. You got to fill that void somehow. So
So
we'll
yeah,
get back.
and yeah,
So we'll get back to Denver at some point along too, back in this episode too. But at the number 5 pick, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers, and with new head coach Jim Harbaugh, might want his offense to operate with a run first mentality because of, how good Michigan ran the ball. And even back to the Niners days when he was the coach of the Niners, how good the Niners ran the ball. But here, New England Shakeup, Cam and I, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. going number 5 to the Los Angeles Chargers. So with that said, guys, with that point that I brought up about Harbaugh being a run first, offense, and it always has been, we think that they're going to flip the script a little bit because they lost Mike Williams, they lost Keenan Allen, and they need somebody else as a wide receiver there. You can't really what's the word I'm looking for? You can't really depend on Quentin Johnston. I mean, he's kind of already proved what he is. He was not worth a first round pick. Now, but I'm not sure uh, Marvin Harrison will be able to pass and over the top, um, like, you know, meaning like he's gonna be able to get over the top of a lot of corners in that division. Um, but with Herbert there, the Chargers might miss out on a potential trade down haul. Fortunately, they'll still land the top player on the board, in my opinion. So what do you think, Cam, about Marvin Harrison Jr. going to Los Angeles Chargers, pairing with Justin Herbert, Josh Palmer, Gus Edwards? What do you think about Marvin Harrison going to LA?
Oh, I think that's kind of just a make sense type of move with all the trades they had at giving wide receivers away for chump change. They really need a wide receiver in this draft. I feel like is one of the most stacked wide receiver drafts we've seen in a while.
Yeah,
And Marvin Harrison's just one of those talents that it's hard for any team to pass up on.
yeah,
I could even see him going like, I mean, I know he's not going to go number one, but he's one of those guys where it wouldn't even surprise me that much if he went like number one or number two, honestly. But yeah, the Chargers are a team that really needs him, so they'd love to see him fall to number five.
yeah, they definitely would. Getting to pick number 6, my arch rival, but I still have to cover them, guys. I still have to cover them. The New York Giants. The New York Giants. So the New York Giants have a need. That's a lot of things. I mean, you could say they need a quarterback because of Daniel Jones' health. You could say that they need a wideout because Darius Slayton for the last few years hasn't lived up to what he's lived up to. They also used a first round pick a couple years ago on Kadarius Toney. That didn't really work out. But right now, with given how the team is, I think you need to pick a wide receiver. Because Daniel Jones has proven to you he can take you to the playoffs at least. So here, with number 6 overall, Cam and I have the New York Giants picking LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is a quarterback's dream, and I think that he would be very good working with Daniel Jones. His loaded toolbox includes the ability to win off the line and downfield with quickness and physicality, separate from defenders, and adjust to throws away from his frame. Which, if anybody's kind of confused by what I'm saying there, it means that Malik Neighbors has the best catch radius in this draft, in my opinion. Marvin Harrison is probably undoubtedly the best wide receiver, but the best wide receiver with the best catch radius in the draft is Malik Neighbors. Cam, what do you think about Malik Neighbors, the LSU product, going to New York to pair with Daniel Jones?
Oh yeah, they're another team, just like the Chargers, that desperately need a receiver, and he's somebody that puts up at least 60, 70 receptions, 1,000 yards. So if you can just get him the ball, he's going to go to work. This draft class in general is super stacked for receivers, especially that are going to go in the first round. So yeah,
Yeah,
the Giants definitely should go for him. Or there's other really good options, a wide receiver that we're probably going to be talking about next.
yeah. Makes a lot of sense for New York to go Neighbors there. Okay, guys. So getting into pick number 7, the Tennessee Titans. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tennessee Titans. Huge splash move over the offseason with L'Jarius Sneed. Huge splash. I think that helps their defense. Also with a huge splash move in free agency, adding Calvin Ridley. So, what did you not add in free agency is the question. O line. O line is what you did not do in free agency and what you did not go after in free agency. So, with further ado, the Tennessee Titans at pick number 7 in the 2024 NFL Draft will be selecting Notre Dame offensive tackle Joe Alt. Now, with this pick, guys, a powerful run blocker, a smooth pass protector, Alt's prototypical size makes him a surefire starter at left tackle for the next decade. This kid is probably the best tackle prospect coming out since Lane Johnson. That's not anything to um, throw shade on any offensive lineman that's came out since then. It's just a fact. The kid is an absolute beast, and you add that to Tennessee, who kind of needs some help on the O line there, giving some protection for Will Levis. What do you think, Cam, about Joe Alt, Notre Dame offensive tackle, going to Tennessee to protect Will Levis?
I think that's the that's the only thing the Titans are missing at this point. Bringing in Pollard, Ridley, Sneed, like you talked about, they kind of reinforced every position they needed. So it's only makes sense that they go for an offensive tackle, and this guy's honestly generational,
Yeah,
or could be.
yeah.
I don't want
He
to hype it up too much, but yeah, he could be a really good player.
he could be very good. And for that O line that, you can say for the past couple years has been decent running with Derrick Henry running behind him, but you don't have Derrick Henry coming through those doors anymore. So looking like a fresh new way of football for Tennessee fans, rather than just ground and pound, kind of learning how to, not saying that Tannehill and those players didn't know how to throw the football, but we can all agree and we can all sit here that Tennessee, when Derrick Henry was there, they were a run first team. Let's not, you know, think outside the box about that. But with further ado, the number eighth pick in the draft is held by Atlanta. But after initially moving down from number 4, GM Monty Ossenfort trades the number 12 overall pick, a third and a fifth rounder to jump back for this selection. The Cardinals must leave the first round with a top-notch pass catcher. Now, who must that be? Arizona Cardinals are trading up to pick number 8 with the Atlanta Falcons to pick wide receiver, product out of Washington, Rome Odunze, to pair with Kyler Murray. Now, why might this be good? The Cardinals, with Adunze, he's a top-notch pass catcher, and Adunze fits the bill. He's not quite as explosive as Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, but Odunze boasts a nice blend of reliability, strength, and agility in the open field. And with Kyler Murray and his scrambling ability, looking for Rome Odunze to be kind of like a Debo Samuel run after catch type of a player. Um, Cam, what do you think about Rome Odunze going to Arizona?
I mean, Arizona would love to have him for the stats he put up and just the way he plays too. He just like a space creator, like just always gets separation. And I don't know, he plays pretty safe for
For a
like
wideout?
for a wideout in general, which is like just good. Like honestly, like how Tyler Lockett kind of plays, where he's gonna be healthy week in and week out. When he had over 80 receptions, I think he had at least 1,500 yards, which is crazy. Over 10 touchdowns. Like they would love to have him as a wideout if he's still available.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely would. They definitely would. And that's where we see Rome Odunze falling. Now, with further ado, guys, we are on to pick number 9, and it is again the Chicago Bears on the clock. Now, with Cam and I's pick here, we think that with Chicago picking Caleb Williams, best, could say best offensive player in the draft, maybe they go to the other side of the ball. They're going to go get the best defensive player in the draft. That would be Dallas Turner, Alabama edge. With the draft's top 3 receivers already finding new homes by this pick, the Bears take Turner to team him with Montez Sweat. Just adding another pass rusher there, looking to boost up that defense a little bit. That defense wasn't terrible last year, kind of a middle of the pack defense. So adding a good pass rusher coming out of college, maybe add a few more sacks, more quarterback pressures in there. Cam, what do you think about Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama, going to Chicago?
I think it makes sense that they go to a defensive player.
Hmm.
So Dallas Turner, I mean, is definitely the best available option for a defensive player. especially at a position they need.
Yep. Yep, and they definitely need a running mate with Montez there. And that will be great for them to kind of have that, dynamic duo, if you will, pass rushing, which you do need in today's NFL. You do have to get after the pass rusher, and that's what Chicago does here. They pick Dallas Turner, pick number 9. Guys, without further ado, pick number 10 is the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets are at pick number 10, and they had some question marks in the offseason with some O-line. Now, they added Tyron Smith, so that kind of boasted the offensive tackle part of things. So right here, with those things happening in free agency, I could have definitely seen New York picking an offensive lineman at 10. But now I'm thinking maybe a whole other way about this, and you tell me how you think about it, Cam. But how good has Aaron Rodgers been throughout his career with tight ends?
Uh, Pretty good.
Pretty good, right? Done pretty well for himself, I would say. So with the number 10 overall pick, I have the New York Jets picking Brock Bowers, Georgia tight end. Now, why do I have Bowers going to New York? Bowers is not only a reliable pass catcher, capable of getting down the seam and breaking through tackles after the catch, but a solid blocker in the run game. And New York, with not really having somebody at the tight end position who wanted to really block people, you add an element there with some run blocking aspects with Bowers and also somebody who can take away the middle of the field. And I think this is where the Jets go here. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers getting another weapon in the middle of the field like a Brock Bowers to pair with a Garrett Wilson and a Mike Williams?
I think that's the last position that the Jets kind of really need in general is a tight end.
Mm,
I can't name the last great tight ends that the Jets have had, so I think that makes sense. It's a good pick for them to go for a tight end.
yeah,
Because I mean, the next best available players are quarterbacks, and they're clearly not going to draft a quarterback unless they want to get Aaron Rodgers mad. So I think they should definitely go for a tight end.
yeah. And I have them picking Bowers at 10. Just makes too much sense. All right, guys, getting into pick number 11 is the Minnesota Vikings. So at this point, guys, Minnesota can't trade up for McCarthy because McCarthy's already gone. They can't get Drake May because Drake May's already gone. They can't get Jaden Daniels because Jaden Daniels is already gone. And sure as hell, they can't get Caleb Williams because Caleb Williams went first overall. So they cannot pick a quarterback in round 1. So where do I have Minnesota drafting? Well, I'll tell you where I have them drafting, and I'll tell you it's definitely a position of need. I have them picking a defensive tackle. I have them picking Byron Murphy II out of Texas. The reason being, Minnesota goes for an impact defender with one of their 2 first-round picks, choosing Murphy over edge Jared Verse. Murphy's a coveted player because he can attack quarterbacks from the interior and use his lower center of gravity to hold firm at the line of scrimmage. The Minnesota Vikings get an absolute beast here at number 11 and maybe their defensive tackle for the future for the next 9-10 seasons. Cam, what do you think about Byron Murphy II, the D tackle out of Texas, going to Minnesota, not even to pair with now Danielle Hunter, but now to pair with Jonathan Grenard going over from Houston? Impact player here with Byron. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think they definitely need a defensive option. I mean, if they wanted to go for a quarterback, they could maybe get Bo Nix, but I don't think that's a better move than Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
So I would always just try and draft the best available talent, which he's definitely. I think Byron Murphy's gonna be a better player than what Bo Nix produces, but they definitely also need a quarterback. So in the NFL, you usually draft to what you need for position. but they do also need a D tackle. So then I'm kind of split on
Yeah,
who they go for. But Byron Murphy is definitely a better player.
yeah. And it just makes too much sense. They got killed in the running game last year. Okay, so um, in a mock trade earlier, obviously, guys, we had Arizona trading from the pick that they traded with Denver, which was 12, having Arizona trade up to Atlanta's spot at number 8. And now with Atlanta at number 12, um, Atlanta is going to pick Florida State edge Jared Verse. The Falcons acquire two mid-round picks from the Cardinals to move down 4 slots, as I said, and they still land an excellent pass rusher in Verse, who could make a Will Anderson type of impact. So we'll definitely see what happens here. But I think Jared Verse going to Atlanta just makes too much sense. You can argue that their edge rushing last year could have been better. Obviously, having Bud Dupree there isn't really like great. So you add somebody a little bit younger, add a product from that great Florida State team. What do you think about the Atlanta Falcons getting the edge rusher Jared Verse out of Florida State?
Yeah, they definitely need. I mean, this is just another one like the Byron Murphy pick where it just makes too much sense for them to not go for him. When you go, it's like when the Bears had traded a Justin Fields, so you know they're going for a quarterback.
Mm,
When Atlanta picked up Kirk Cousins, you knew they were going to go for some defensive options.
hmm
So that's just one of those picks that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense for Atlanta just because of the simple fact that now they kind of have a chance at making the postseason, maybe the chance at making some noise, and they are trying to make a chance maybe to possibly push for a Super Bowl. What better way than to add an edge rusher who is young, who is powerful, and who might be able to really win Defensive Rookie of the Year this year? Who knows? Especially with how that team might play, he might get a little extra love depending on how Atlanta plays. Getting into pick number 13, I think it just makes way too much sense here. So I'm just gonna keep this one quick and short, Cam, because I don't even think we really need to talk about this one that much. Um, 13, Las Vegas Raiders. I have the Las Vegas Raiders picking the second best offensive tackle in the draft. I have them picking J.C. Latham out of Alabama. Latham's huge frame and power off the snap in the run game, his ability to slide laterally and widen his base in pass protection, making him a tough ask for defenders to beat with power of speed off the edge. As you'll see later, I project the Raiders to send fourth and fifth round picks to Carolina to move up early in the second round to select Michael Penix. But now in here, I have J.C. Latham going pick 13 to try to shore up that offensive line for when Las Vegas is in the second round and maybe they can pick a Michael Penix Jr. Cam, what do you think about Las Vegas picking the O lineman?
I think they really need no lineman. I could not really see them going for a quarterback or receiver. And I think like just like we were talking about before, like it's kind of got to you got to draft the best available talent, but you also have to draft what you need.
Right.
Which he's the best available offensive tackle or lineman available.
Yep. Yep. And just to get this going quick, guys. New Orleans Saints at pick number 14. Cam and I also have them picking an offensive tackle. I'm so sorry if I get this name wrong, guys. Alumuyiwa Fashanu, Penn State product offensive tackle. The reason why I have them picking Fashanu, Trevor Penning's rough go at left tackle last year and Ryan Remchek's knee issues make it likely the Saints will select an offensive tackle in the first round. Fashunu played exclusively on the left side with Penn State, only lining up on the right side on special teams. So the Saints kind of got to figure out there whether they're going to play him at left or right, but it's looking like he's probably going to play left tackle. What do you think of the Saints grabbing the offensive tackle out of Penn State?
I mean, the Saints definitely needed to reinforce their offensive line, and they really didn't make any moves in free agency that I remember. So I could definitely see them going for an offensive tackle.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to protect Derek Carr if that's the route you're going to go for the next few years. You do need to protect him at the end of the day, and that's where they go there at number 14. Pick number 15, guys. Without further ado, the Indianapolis Colts are on the clock. Now, Cam and I have had a few things that we thought maybe Indianapolis would go here. At some point, Cam and I thought maybe they would grab a wide receiver, just for the simple fact of that they do have Josh Downs, but can you really consider Josh Downs like a wide receiver two every single year? And then I really thought about it, and I was like, well, they extended Kenny Moore, but what are they going to do after Kenny Moore, after Kenny Moore's gone? And they don't really have anyone else there, next to Kenny Moore that's like a competent player. So with pick number 15, guys, without further ado, the Indianapolis Colts will be picking the best cornerback out of the draft, Kenyon Mitchell, Toledo corner. The reason why Mitchell's performance during Senior Bowl practices backed up his quickness and ability to play the ball, which showed on film, while his combine workout potentially cemented his spot in the top half of the first round. And I don't know if anybody saw his combine workout, but if you guys haven't, go take a look at that because the kid is an absolute stud, and I think he's going to play awesome, awesome in Indiana. Cam, what do you think about the best cornerback going to Indianapolis to pair with Kenny Moore in that defensive crew?
Indianapolis kind of need a cornerback right now, so that definitely makes a lot of sense. And yeah, his combine was crazy. Seeing how fast he is and everything is just, yeah, it's just like you said, it cemented his spot in the first round. Like that
Yeah,
he's going to go in the first round at least at some point.
yeah, it definitely did. And without further ado, guys, we are on to pick number 16. Without further ado, I have a trade to announce. Trade alert, trade alert, trade alert. So originally the Seattle Seahawks were on the clock, but I have a projected trade. I have the Philadelphia Eagles trading up from pick number 22 to pick number 16. The reason being, I have Philadelphia Eagles picking Jason Kelsey's real replacement in Graham Barton, the Duke center. If the Raiders and Saints pass on Barton, then the Eagles could move up to get a leader on the offensive line. His athleticism, his toughness, his football IQ could allow him to step in at multiple spots, likely combining with Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson in the interior. Despite his lack of length, 32 inches 7/8 inch arm, his play at left tackle over the past 3 years shows he can move outside if injuries hit that part of the depth chart. So he has a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? He has a lot
Versatility.
versatility. Exactly. He can play multiple spots. He's even played offensive tackle at one point at his time at Duke. And I have Philadelphia trading up with Seattle to pick Graham Barton. Cam, what do you think of this?
I mean, that'd be awesome if the Eagles could trade up, and they definitely need whoever they can get on the offensive line with Jason Kelsey retiring, because center's not like an easy position to just replace.
Right. Right. And that's why I have Philadelphia trading up with Seattle makes too much sense. Now, this is where trades are gonna start coming in, guys, just like left and right. So on pick number 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock, but trade alert, guys. Trade alert, trade alert, trade alert. So here is the trade, guys. It's gonna be between Kansas City and Jacksonville, guys. Kansas City trading up. What do they trade up for? A wide receiver. I have pick number 17, Kansas City Chiefs, picking Xavier Worthy, Texas wide receiver, giving Patrick Mahomes as many explosive targets as possible Worthy's elite speed makes him a top downfield threat, as well as an obvious option for jet sweeps and quick screens. He's a much needed versatile threat for the Chiefs. Cam, what do you think about Kansas City trading up with Jacksonville for the Texas product that broke the 40-yard dash record?
Well, I think they're trading up, knowing that they could get a potential wide receiver one in him. So, I mean, it's definitely worth it for them to trade up. And yeah, Xavier Worthy, that just shows how stacked the draft class is that he still hasn't even been drafted yet for a receiver. Yeah, there's just a lot of good receivers in this draft. And Xavier Worthy is definitely one of the best. Top 3, if not top 5 in this draft.
Exactly. And getting a speedster there too with Andy Reid, it's basically going to be a Tyreek Hill 2.0. That's literally what
Yep.
that's going to be. All right, guys. Cam, let's get into the next pick here. The next pick in the mock draft, guys, pick number 18. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. Now, there's a lot of question marks, guys, with T. Higgins. There's a lot of question marks with T. Higgins. Whether or not T. Higgins is going to be dealt on draft night or not, we do not know. But we do have to sit here and act as if he is going to be moved. We have to sit here and act as if that on draft day. So, this is our mock draft if T. Higgins is traded from Cincinnati. Cam and I have Cincinnati Bengals picking LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. The Bengals take a wide receiver who can stretch the field in case the franchise tagged T. Higgins is ultimately dealt or isn't around for the long term. Quarterback Joe Burrow finished his career at LSU before Thomas arrived in Baton Rouge, but a quick connection could be in the making. Cam, what do you think about the LSU product going to join more LSU boys in Burrow and Chase?
I think that's another one that just makes a lot of sense. With T. Higgins possibly getting dealt to another team, they definitely are going to need a receiver. And with how stacked the class is, they could definitely end up with him. Which, if I don't know, I feel like a lot of these receivers could even go higher in the draft, but a lot of these teams, I feel like, don't think they need receivers, even though this is the draft they should be drafting them in.
Right.
So they're getting their Calvin Ridley replacement. You said this was Jacksonville's pick, right?
It was Cincinnati's pick.
Oh, sorry, Cincinnati's pick. Yeah, so they're getting their T. Higgins replacement and getting a wide receiver too.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So, getting into pick number 19. Sorry, not pick number 9. Pick number 19, guys. The Los Angeles Rams are on the clock. And I think, Cam, we kinda are both just gonna agree right off the bat with this. Rams need defense. Can we both agree on that? With Aaron Donald
Oh
being
yeah, for
gone.
sure.
So with pick 19, Cam and I have the Los Angeles Rams picking the second best edge rusher coming out of the draft, Chop Robinson, the edge out of Penn State. With that hole that Aaron Donald left, you got to fill that void somehow with some sacks and some productivity. Robinson's lack of sack production, 4 in 2023, might scare off some teams, but I think his speed and bend could attract general manager Les Snead, who stays put to add another edge rusher with great potential to the squad. Just adding a kid who might not be a 7, 8, 10 sack guy this year, maybe even next year, but maybe that third year is really where we start to see Chop Robinson. A speed rusher, not really somebody who's going to overpower you, but somebody who's going to try to get by you very quickly. Cam, what do you think about Chop Robinson going to LA?
I mean, I think he's an awesome player, and I mean, people always bring up the stats, but I really don't think, especially with defensive players, that the stats really mean much of anything. Like, even if he, let's say, gets 4 sacks or gets less than that, he's going to take pressure off a lot of the other defenders, so the defense is going to play better in general. So even if he, let's say, gets 2 sacks instead of whatever, some other guys might get 6 or 8, he's going to create those other 4 to 6 for his teammates instead of himself.
Yep.
which I think is just important. The Rams need somebody like that. And he's also not like a selfish guy who cares about the stats in general, which LA could use some less selfish players, honestly.
Right. All right. Well, getting into the next pick, guys, we have pick number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys, with this pick, Cam and I think that this is kind of obvious, but not really obvious. With Pittsburgh getting rid of Patrick Peterson in the offseason, I think they have a void there now at corner. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers picking another great corner in this year's draft, Terrion Arnold. In last year's draft, the Steelers found Joey Porter Jr. waiting to hear his name called at the top of the second round. Arnold could be in a similar situation for Pittsburgh to snag if quarterbacks, receivers, and offensive linemen fill the top half of the first round. Arnold's toughness and versatility make him a nice find here, as he can step into the slot as a rookie or play outside if Porter or Dante Jackson need a breather. Cam, what do you think about Pittsburgh adding a third corner to the mix there to play with Minka Fitzpatrick in the back end, also corner there to Pittsburgh?
Well, you're right with that. I mean, when they went and got the quarterbacks and the other players they got, you definitely just knew they needed a defensive player, especially a cornerback that they can develop. Because even if he doesn't have a huge impact this year, he's somebody that's going to definitely have an impact over time.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely will. And that kid coming out of Alabama, Alabama's, they are known for bringing in NFL class talent, and we will see what Terry and Arnold does over there in Pittsburgh. It should be great to see. A young secondary for it seems like forever for Pittsburgh, but they will finally have a younger secondary for the first time in a couple years. Okay. The next pick here is the Miami Dolphins, but Cam and I have a trade alert. We have the San Francisco 49ers trading with the Miami Dolphins. Who are they going to be trading up for? It's going to be Talise Fuaga, the Oregon State offensive tackle. I believe one of the top offensive tackles will drop outside the top 20, and Fuaga's incomplete workout numbers, along with some teams projecting him as a guard, might make him the odd man out. Miami needs mid round picks, so the 49ers send late third and fourth round pick selections, getting back a sixth in the exchange, to secure an immediate starter on the right side of the line. Now, Cam, with that said, what do you think about Talise Fuaga, the offensive tackle, going to San Francisco with last year? I don't remember if you remember, but they lost McGlinchey to Denver. So they kind of needed to figure out who they were going to play at right tackle. They played somebody there this year. He didn't play very well, so they're looking now to add Fuaga to the mix. What do you think about that?
I mean, he's an awesome offensive tackle, and I mean, that trade just makes sense for both teams. Them trading up for that immediate starter makes sense. And then it's that Miami gets their picks, right?
Yeah, they
Was the
would
other.
get they would
Yeah,
uh
so
they would get mid-round picks back. So Miami, basically a few years ago when they traded for Jalen Ramsey, they gave up a lot of mid-round picks to do that. So Miami's looking now to probably get those mid-round picks back somehow. And they're
yeah,
looking
which
to,
that makes a lot of sense to get the mid round picks back. So you give them a good pick, a bad pick to get two mid round picks back because they don't necessarily need an immediate game changer this year, but they're going to need somebody that they can develop. So the mid round picks definitely make sense, and that's a good trade for both.
yep, yeah, it really is. And Fuaga will be a monster there in San Francisco. Guys, earlier I brought up that the Philadelphia Eagles traded up with Seattle. So now this is Seattle Seahawks on the clock now at pick number 22. Cam and I have the Seattle Seahawks picking Jerzon Newton, Illinois defensive tackle, to pair with Leonard Williams in that defensive crew. Um, the impact William had on an Illinois defense should not be overlooked. His quick get off and strength up front make him a solid first round pick for the Seahawks, who continue to add pieces to a new head coach, Mike McDonald's defense. Cam, what do you think about Jerzon Newton going to Seattle?
I mean, Seattle definitely needs some defensive pieces. Their offense is looking really good at the moment with the receivers and like run game they have. So I think they definitely need some pieces on defense, specifically the defensive line. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. Now, it will be telling as to how Mike McDonald plays, whether he's going to play a 3-4 or 4-3. Just we'll have to wait and see for Seattle football. On that note, guys, there is another pick here coming up. It is pick number 23, held by who? The Minnesota Vikings. How do they have that pick? From a trade that happened earlier in this offseason with the Houston Texans. So, guys, who does Minnesota pick here? Cam, I think it's time. I think it's time, Cam. I think it's time Minnesota picks that quarterback. And I think it's going to be Bo Nix, Oregon quarterback. History repeats itself with Minnesota matching its 2014 draft plan, taking its top player on the board early, linebacker Anthony Barr at 9 overall, before snagging a quarterback later on in round 1, Teddy Bridgewater at pick number 32. Baltimore did something similar in 2018, even when taking Hayden Hurst at 25th, and then before moving up for Lamar Jackson 7 picks later. Knicks may not carry an elite grade like the four top quarterbacks in the class, so Minnesota patiently follows its board instead of reaching, in my opinion, and that's who they pick here at pick number 23, Bo Nix out of Oregon. Cam, what do you think about Bo Nix going to play with Justin Jefferson over there in Minnesota?
I mean, they definitely are another team that needs a quarterback. And if Bo Nix is still on the clock, he's definitely going to be the pick they go for. I mean, I could see a lot of other teams maybe wanting to go for Bo Nix, but I do see why he could drop this low with just some of the risk versus the reward with him, maybe.
Yep.
Some teams aren't necessarily biting or like necessarily like really wanting him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Right.
I feel like a while ago was projected like top 10.
Yeah, he
So I don't
was.
know.
Yeah, he was a while ago at
I feel
the
like his draft stock has dropped a little bit.
little bit. Yeah, little bit. Bo Nix, I hope you're listening to this. You better go tear stuff up in Minnesota. Okay, guys. So getting into the last 8 picks of the draft, guys. This is where we're really gonna hone in. Guys, pick number 24 is the Dallas Cowboys. My arch rival again. Okay. I guess I can do it, Cam. So right now, I have, and Cam has, Dallas Cowboys picking the Texas product, the running back, Jonathan Brooks. Brooks' story and game reminds me a lot of Todd Gurley, who suffered an ACL injury in November of his final season at Georgia and would end up a top 10 pick the following April. Despite the injury, Gurley carried the ball 1,265 times and caught 218 passes in his first 5 pro seasons. Dallas could view Brooks as sort of the workhorse because of that combination of power and agility. That's why I have Dallas here picking Jonathan Brooks. There's a huge question mark with Dallas at running back with Tony Pollard being gone. What do you think, Cam, about Jonathan Brooks, the Texas product, being able to stay in Texas and play for the star on the helmet, the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just fits the team really well. He's just one of those guys that you know what you're getting with him when you draft him. So I think it just I mean I hate to keep saying it just makes sense, but this is one of those where I could just see him as a good fit in Dallas.
Yeah, it just makes too much sense as a pass catcher and as a physical runner. And if that he can get healthy, who's to say that he won't win Offensive Rookie of the Year? We just don't know. But let's try to speed up these last 7 picks, guys. So with pick number 25, Cam and I have the Green Bay Packers picking Peyton Wilson, North Carolina State linebacker. New defensive coordinator Jeff Hatley coached against Wilson when he was at Boston College, watching his Eagles beat the Wolfpack in 2022 despite the linebacker's 3 tackles for loss and an interception. Halfley knows full well the sort of athlete and football player Wilson would add to his scheme in Green Bay. So that's why Cam and I have Peyton Wilson going to pick number 25. With pick number 26, guys, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock. And Cam and I have them picking Washington offensive guard Troy Fatanu. Fatanu could go earlier because he has the skills to play left tackle in the NFL if available here. The Bucks should jump at this chance any chance they get to select him. They've recently taken linemen with the plans to change their position, so a move to guard or center seems possible in this scenario, with a chance of Fatanu taking the left tackle spot if Tristan Wirfs leaves via free agency after the season. But who's to say that? Cam, what do you think about Tampa Bay adding offensive guard here?
I think I mean, Tampa Bay, they're kind of set with most of their positions. I think they just need to reinforce the offensive lines. That one makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah.
I mean, they just need to basically draft or maybe trade and sign some offensive pieces for the line, and they're looking really good too.
Yeah. With pick number 27, we have the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. This is the Houston pick from last year. This was the pick that was used on Will Anderson. So Houston ended up giving them a year pick this year. So this is the pick that year. And I have Arizona picking Clemson corner Nate Wiggins. I think Wiggins' recovery speed is impressive, but his slight frame at 173 pounds may force him to fall into like the bottom third of the first round. That's the reason why he's going so late. Just doesn't have the frame ability. If he goes up against somebody like a DK Metcalf, I pray for that kid. That's why I have Arizona picking Nate Wiggins a little bit later in the draft. Okay, guys, last four picks here, guys. We're gonna kind of run through these kind of quick. All right, guys, the Buffalo Bills at pick number 28. Cam and I have us picking Laitu Latu. The Bills could stretch for a receiver here to help replace Stephon Diggs, whatever, but Latu's value at 28 is too good to pass up. He'll pair nicely with Greg Rousseau, another bargain late first round edge, already on Buffalo's roster. The neck injury Latu suffered at Washington early in his career could be a factor in his final draft position, regardless of his talent. That's why Cam and I have him dropping as far as to 28. Okay, guys, the last four picks here, three picks here. All right, guys, with the 29th overall pick, Cam and I have the Detroit Lions picking Darius Robinson, the Missouri product, the edge rusher. I love Robinson's fit in Detroit's defense. He can line up in multiple spots. He can use his strong hands to shed blocks and attack ball carriers. He stood up regularly last fall in Missouri, so lining up that way across from Aiden Hutchinson won't be an issue. So he's more of like a stand up edge rusher, not somebody who's really going to put his hand in the dirt. Okay, guys, getting into pick 30, 31, and 32. So with pick number 30, Cam and I have Baltimore picking Oklahoma offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. Baltimore's patience in past drafts has resulted in it finding excellent value late in each round. Guyton would be a perfect Ravens pick in that way, and he meets a need after Morgan Moses trade and inconsistent availability of veteran Ronnie Stanley. That is why Cam and I have the Oklahoma offensive tackle product going to Baltimore. With the last two picks in the 2024 NFL Draft, I'm going to tell you the last two picks, and then I'm going to tell you why. So earlier we saw the San Francisco 49ers trade up with Miami. So Miami here is on the clock at pick 31, and they are going to pick Patrick Paul, Houston product offensive tackle. And with pick number 32, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who they made that trade with Kansas City, are going to take Rutgers corner Max Melton. Now, why could I see Patrick Paul going to Miami? Left tackle Teron Armstead is returning for 2024, but has had issues staying on the field during his career. Paul's pass protection skills could get him into the first round, and his continued work on his run blocking could make him a bargain, in my opinion. And on pick 32, why Cam and I have Max Melton going to Jacksonville. Melton's plus athleticism was on display at the NFL scouting combine, and his film shows his versatility to play in the slot or outside. He wins a lot of jump balls and sticks his nose into run defense. The kid loves to tackle. Um, but with further ado, guys, that is the NFL Round 1 mock draft, guys. And Cam and I were so happy, so happy to bring it to you guys today. Obviously, there's always a chance that some things may happen between now and the next episode. But, guys, thank you for tuning in to New England Shakeup episode 11, where we've done the NFL Deep Dive draft and mock draft for that matter, the deep dive mock draft, I should say. But on that note, Cam, do you have anything else you'd like to say to the people, man?
Yeah, thank you for listening, and I bet there's going to be some trades between now and the next episode, so we'll keep you up to date.
We definitely will, guys. On that note, it is the New England Shakeup, and we are out.